Welcome to Gender Chronicles. Dive into the fascinating world of gender dynamics as we unravel the threads of tradition, change, and identity. Together, we'll explore the intricate relationships between the sexes, empowering you to navigate them with clarity, confidence, and insight. Imagine a world where every whisper, every breath is tracked by invisible eyes and ears. Your thoughts are no longer your own. They are decoded, catalogued, and judged. The wrong word, the slightest hint of dissent, and the silence of night is shattered by the screeching sound of authority. Fear hangs thick in the air as citizens speak only what is sanctioned, their faces hollowed by the constant, unblinking gaze of surveillance. A world where even the smallest rebellion, thought, word, or action, can lead to immediate, crushing punishment, disappearing you into oblivion without a trace, without justice. This dystopian vision represents the feminist, gynocentric times in which we live. Today, we will delve into another topic of interest. Let us call it Orwellian feminism, an apparatus that thrives on university campuses, silencing voices and enforcing ideological conformity, particularly against those who challenge feminist hegemony. Today, institutions of higher learning have become gynocentric spaces where the world revolves around women. Universities are now part of the gynocentric system or culture, centered around women's experiences, perspectives, and values. The norms, roles, and structures are shaped by and for women, placing their needs, desires, and voices at the forefront. This gynocentric condition emphasizes the importance of women's leadership, roles in decision-making, and social contributions, an environment where women's experiences and contributions are valued and prioritized above everything else. We will analyze Orwellian feminism and its insidious impact and implications. We will use two analytical devices to guide our thought process. The first analytical device is George Orwell's concept of the telescreen. The second analytical device is Jeremy Bentham's idea of the panopticon. Let's get into it. What is the telescreen? The telescreen comes from George Orwell's novel 1984. In the novel, the telescreen is a machine a totalitarian government uses to control and monitor citizens. The telescreen is a combination of a television and a surveillance camera. Telescreens are placed in every home, workplace, and public space, constantly showing government-approved content, such as propaganda and speeches. But here's the catch. These screens not only broadcast information to the people, but they can also watch and listen to them. The government uses telescreens to keep an eye on people's behavior, ensuring no one does anything that might go against the rules or think thoughts that could challenge the regime. The constant surveillance forces people to act as if they're always being watched, even if they're not. In short, the telescreen is a tool for control. It keeps people in check by making them feel like they are never truly alone, and the government can always hear or see what they are doing. This idea is a warning about how technology could be used to strip away personal freedoms and privacy. The telescreen accomplishes the same objectives as the panopticon. So in that way, they are similar. What is the panopticon? The panopticon is a concept developed by the philosopher and social theorist Jeremy Bentham in the late 18th century. It refers to an institutional building designed in such a way that a single watchman can observe all inmates without knowing whether or not they are being watched. The building is typically circular, with a central observation tower from which the guard can see all areas of the facility. The design was intended to create a sense of constant surveillance, compelling the inmates to regulate their own behavior for fear of being observed at any moment. In a broader modern sense, the term panopticon has come to symbolize a society or system in which individuals are constantly under surveillance, whether or not they are actually being watched. It raises questions about power, control, and the effects of surveillance on personal freedoms and privacy. This concept has been widely discussed in sociological and political theory, especially in relation to technology, mass media, and state surveillance today. In this case, we are using it to symbolize our gynocentric society within which colleges and universities are feminist panopticons. As you can see, the telescreen and the panopticon are similar in three ways. First, they are both designed for surveillance, to monitor and control individuals by keeping them under constant watch. Second, they are both designed for psychological control, whereby the knowledge or fear that one might always be watched forces people to regulate their own behavior. This creates a sense of powerlessness where people modify their actions without needing direct enforcement. Third, they both represent centralized authority, whether a guard in the tower or the government, having the power to oversee and control a population. The modern university, once celebrated as a bastion of intellectual freedom a free marketplace of ideas, has become a theatre for ideological warfare. They have been transformed into feminist telescreens and panopticons. Nowhere is this more apparent than in the treatment of men's rights advocates, who face the feminist telescreens and panopticons of surveillance, propaganda and censorship, the feminist gaze of ideological discipline and punishment. Orwell's telescreen operated as a dual mechanism, a device for propaganda and a tool for surveillance. Similarly, Bentham's panopticon, a theoretical prison where the few watch the many, internalizes control by making individuals police themselves. Together, these metaphors offer a chilling framework for understanding how the feminist big sister monitors, suppresses, and punishes dissent in academia. Spaces of higher learning have become so monocultural, intolerant, and suffocating that professors and students must constantly monitor their thoughts, speech, and behavior. In 2012, Dr. Warren Farrell, a prominent men's rights advocate, was invited to speak at the University of Toronto. His topic: issues facing men and boys, such as male suicide rates, educational disparities, and workplace fatalities. But Farrell's event was met with hostility. Protesters formed human barricades, shouted slogans like "No hate speech on campus," and even accused him of misogyny, even though his work focuses on compassion for all genders. Farrell's words were not silenced because they were hateful, but because they challenged the orthodoxy of feminist discourse. In this, the screen of feminist ideology ensured only acceptable ideas could be expressed, while the panopticon's gaze, aided by peer pressure and social media, enforced compliance. In Orwell's world, the citizens of Oceania internalize the party's ideology to such an extent that they police their own thoughts. This phenomenon, which we now call self-censorship, is rampant in academia. Professors and students alike tread carefully, fearing the wrath of feminist orthodoxy. Janice Fiamengo, a professor and critic of feminist ideology, experienced this firsthand at the University of Ottawa in Canada. Her lecture on men's issues was drowned out by air horns, shouting, and fire alarms. Protesters labeled her a misogynist, despite her academic focus on exposing how certain feminist narratives marginalize men. Social media amplified the protesters' tactics, spreading videos that framed Fiamengo as a purveyor of hate rather than an advocate for dialogue. Here, the panopticon's gaze extended beyond the campus, with digital mobs enforcing ideological discipline. Bentham's panopticon describes a system where the few surveil the many, creating a sense of omnipresence. Today, social media serves as a digital panopticon, enabling feminist activists to monitor and suppress dissenting voices in real time. Jordan Peterson's lecture at Queen's University in Canada became a battleground. Protesters disrupted the event, claiming Peterson's critique of compelled speech laws and radical gender ideology amounted to hate speech. Social media amplified the chaos, transforming the event into a global spectacle. This digital panopticon ensures that any challenge to feminist hegemony is met with swift and often career-ending consequences. The Orwellian screen and Bentham's panopticon have profound consequences for academic freedom. When men's issues, like male suicide, workplace fatalities, or custody disparities, are dismissed as unworthy of discussion, we lose the ability to address systemic inequalities. The suppression of men's voices, experiences, and concerns has driven men to create the manosphere, a decentralized network of loosely connected online underground spaces where they can express themselves without fear of censorship, blame, shaming, vilification, discipline, and punishment from the gynocentric big sister. Erin Pizzey, founder of the world's first domestic violence shelter, faced vilification for her assertion that domestic violence is not a gendered issue. Feminist activists protested her events, issued death threats, and forced her into exile. The reality, however, shows that men comprise 40% of domestic violence victims but receive minimal institutional support. Male suicide rates are 3 to 4 times higher than females, yet discussions are often reframed to focus solely on women's mental health. By suppressing these realities, feminist orthodoxy not only marginalizes men, but undermines the principle of gender equity it claims to champion. To dismantle the feminist telescreens and panopticons, we must reclaim intellectual freedom. This begins with fostering environments where dissent is not just tolerated but encouraged. Feminist monocultures in higher learning spaces must be permanently discredited and abandoned. Universities must resist the temptation to enforce ideological conformity. They must uphold the principles of free speech and ensure that all voices, including men's rights advocates, are heard. At Fraser University in Vancouver, Canada, efforts to create open forums for men's issues have shown that dialogue is possible. We can create spaces for genuine understanding and progress by prioritizing mutual respect over ideological purity. Here are concrete ways in which this university is dismantling feminist telescreens and panopticons. 1. Men's Center, a space which provides resources and peer support for men's health, family, and personal issues. 2. Masculinities for Humanity, a project by the Active Bystander Network, ABN, that aims to dispel misconceptions about masculinity and promote healthy relationships. The ABN surveyed students to gather insights on the experiences of men and masculine-identified individuals. 3. SFU Advocacy for Men and Boys, a student-run group that raises awareness about issues that men and boys face in society. 3. The group aims to put men's issues and human rights at the forefront of campus activism. The Orwellian screen and Bentham's gaze are not inevitable. They thrive only when we allow fear and conformity to govern our institutions. By standing up for open dialogue and intellectual freedom, we can break free from their grip and build a future where every voice is valued. Thank you for watching. If you found this video thought-provoking or inspiring, join the conversation. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to stay connected. Do you have a topic on your mind? Share your ideas with us. We're always eager to explore what matters to you.